Sometimes the best way to learn is by other people's mistakes or their success. My name is Petar Pavlovic, I love sharing my kitesurf experience with you. Today we are going to talk about Taylor's session. It was really interesting to watch because it's not very common to see beginner kitesurfers sharing their first sessions. We'll go through his video together, break it down and analyze what he did well and what could be done better. This way you can avoid some of the struggles he faced and improve faster in your own kitesurfing journey. Approaching the kite spot. While talking to Taylor, he mentioned that he had previously kitesurfed at 2 different spots. At both of those spots, he was with an instructor, and each spot had different conditions. He told me that on both spots, he just started to get the feeling of riding upwind. He recently bought his gear from a guy who runs a kite school around this area he is currently visiting. According to Taylor, the guy gave him a quick explanation about the spot, but didn't offer him any lesson, which in my opinion is unfortunate. Taylor decided to give it a go on his own without any help, and that was his first mistake, the one that led to everything else you will see in this video. So guys, keep in mind, no matter how skilled you are as a kitesurfer, you will always experience something different when riding at a new spot. Even for me, now a very experienced kitesurfer, changing kite spots can make certain tricks or moves much harder. I remember when I just learned how to ride upwind, and even doing some small jumps. As soon as I went to a different spot, I struggled to ride upwind. Working as a kitesurfing instructor all around the world for the last 13 years, I have seen so many people arrive at the new spot with just a bit too much confidence, refusing to ask for help or pay for a lesson. And honestly, in most cases that led to wasting time, energy, and sometimes even breaking their gear. Or worse, injuring themselves. And in the end, it cost much more than just 1 hour lesson. Please remember, no matter how experienced we are, we will never fully master kitesurfing. It's great to be confident, but not overconfident. When approaching a new spot, make sure to gather as much information as possible. Talk to locals, or even better, a kite school if one is available. And if you have even a slightest doubt, don't hesitate to take at least 1 hour lesson. It can save you a lot of time, energy, and maybe even money. Equipment problem once being on the water. Taylor unfortunately forgot to adjust his bindings properly before the session. He went out on the water and only then realized they were a little too tight for his feet to fit in comfortably. Of course, there is always the option to head back to the beach by walking or even body dragging. Land the kite and adjusting your bindings properly. But as you can see in the video, when the wind is moderate and stable enough, you can simply land the kite at the edge of the wind window, let go of the bar and adjust any part of your equipment, even if you're in deep water. Water start and riding. There are plenty of ways to water start. There is no single best or worst method. A lot depends on the conditions and the equipment you are using. Unfortunately, Taylor didn't have much success this day with constantly water starting and riding. The main reason, in my opinion, is that he was hesitant to fully pull in the bar. At first I thought it might be because his kite would backstall if he did, but after watching his backlines more carefully and talking to Taylor, that apparently wasn't the case. His kite was not backstalling this time. It turns out that in the place he took most of his lessons, the wind was usually light, and I cannot say surely, but might be that his kite may not have been correctly trimmed. Looks like he got used to riding with the bar always sheeted out to prevent backstalling, so over time he developed the habit of riding like that. And on the day we are watching now, he was on his north kite for the first time. He didn't realize on his own that he needed to pull the bar in more, for better tension and more efficient riding. This is exactly where having an instructor could make this session much more enjoyable, just by simply telling, pull in the bar. One thing you can be sure of. If you're moving very slowly and about to sink, you should always pull in the bar first and then move the kite. This will give you better line tension and a more effective reaction from the kite. In some cases, backstalling might occur. If you're not sure what backstalling is or how it happens, you will find links in the description to the episodes where I explain it in detail, so you can fully understand and learn how to avoid it. Lost the board. He just fell off the board, but he did the right thing. He let go of the bar, or at least completely depowered it. All told, it's not clearly visible, however, this looks like a great reaction. He had to start body dragging in the direction the kite was pulling him. But unfortunately, he decided to immediately turn around, and that's when he drifted even further downwind of the board. He tried his best to body drag upwind, and his kite control actually looks quite good. But unfortunately, we can't see his body position clearly enough to identify any major mistakes. Now, here's the thing that surprised me the most. Most beginners, when they don't feel confident body dragging upwind, or when they are just trying to spot the board, they tend to put the kite at 12 o'clock. Of course, that's the worst decision. It causes them to quickly and easily lose a lot of ground downwind. You can already see how far Taylor was from his board. At that point, I honestly didn't expect him to recover it. But what he did next is something many kiters don't know. If you just keep the kite at the side of the wind window, like Taylor did, you will barely drift downwind. In most cases, the board drifts faster downwind than you do. So he decided to land the kite and look for the board from that position. That was the best decision he could have made. Big respect to Taylor for recovering his board. In the description you will find everything you need to know about recovering your board. Riding. He managed to get some longer rides now, but unfortunately he's still just going downwind. You can see again that he's moving the kite, but without first pulling the bar in. That alone might already be enough to make the ride smoother and more controlled. While he's riding, we don't see his board at all. That's probably because he's not leaning back, and leaning back is absolutely essential if you want to create proper line tension. And of course, if you eventually want to ride upwind. Self-rescue. Taylor luckily reached the shore, even though it was far downwind from where he started. The shoreline was surrounded by rocks and he didn't feel safe flying the kite there. He immediately used the Chicle quick release. Great choice. At this point, there are two options: basic self-landing or self-rescue procedure to safely reach your kite. Since the beach was surrounded by rocks and didn't look very shallow, the best option, just like he went for, was the self-rescue procedure. I like how he started pulling on the safety line with his palms facing down, but there is a way to do it even better. Ideally, you want to use the tougher part of your hand while pulling the line. This reduces the risk of cuts if the line starts sliding through your hand. It was also a smart move to keep the board on his feet, since the water wasn't very shallow. That helps prevent the line from wrapping around your legs. Later he started collecting the safety line in one hand. That's definitely not recommended. It can easily cause unnecessary knots, or in the worst case, the line can wrap around your hand, which is very unsafe. Taylor managed to complete his version of the self-rescue procedure and luckily recovered his kite, even without any damage, which is impressive considering how rocky that area was. At one point, it really looked like the kite might get shredded. If you enjoyed this video and learned something from the review, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. You will also find the full story episode from Taylor linked in the description. Make sure to check it out if you haven't seen it yet. See you in the next one.